can't believe this sentence. Indiana football completing the greatest college football season ever played. Just crushing if you are Miami to lose at the end that way, about as close to a championship as you can get. Indiana played the game you needed them to play, and you couldn't win it anyway because you got a blocked punt and an assortment of small shit undercut you. But I do think that all of that is something that should be celebrated. Like, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick about a delay of game penalty or the kicker or messing up a decision in a game between two great teams, and one of them had to lose. I do wonder, and Carson Beck said that his ears were ringing at the end, that hit he took on 2nd and 15 that got a penalty, I don't think he was right after that, and I do think it needs to go into the math on he throws his first interception after that, the first turnover of the game, right? Mendoza didn't fumble at all this season, correct? He went the entire season without fumbling one time? Fumbling and losing it, lost fumble.
Yeah, lost fumble.
Crazy game, crazy night, but let me get your thoughts here as we go to a bunch of people who were at the game. Tony has said he's never forgiving Roy Bellamy.
What happened with Roy?
We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. But Tony was telling me before the show, I'm going to be on my deathbed, and I'm going to say, in 2026, Roy did that thing, and wherever it is the beyond, I'm never going to forgive him.
I can't. And I'm I love to forgive people. I can never forgive Roy.
Roy said at the beginning of that drive, Roy doesn't speak very much, and he said at the beginning of the drive, here comes an interception.
Oh boy!
Before the Canes even got the ball, might I add. Okay, before the Canes even get the kickoff, he said, "Here comes the Carson Beck interception," and I'm sitting at Dead Flamingo, a couple of miles away, shocked, flabbergasted that would even come out of his mouth, that he would even think that thought. Okay,
well,
and then
Lucy thought that thought. Lucy.
Yeah, to be fair, I think everybody thought that thought.
Lucy,
I've seen this before.
Lucy doesn't trust Carson Beck. What are your thoughts, Greg? Because I'm not going to sit here and criticize and be overly critical of the University of Miami for losing a game against the team that took on all comers this season and dismissed everybody. They took out everybody. Like, Notre Dame's about the only one they didn't take out.
Yeah, I don't think there's any form of loss last night that wouldn't haunt and hurt Mario Cristobal forever. Like, he's never going to get over last night. But I think this one hurt even more because they, except for a couple of notable exceptions, they played Mendoza very well. He didn't alone beat
and
them.
Surratt.
But it wasn't just the interception toward the end of the game that crushed everything. It was the punt block touchdown they gave up. It was a missed makeable field goal. They could have won that game despite never leading in that game, and that's going to haunt Mario forever. But to your point, I give them enormous credit. This was a successful season. It was a watershed season. They make their first playoff. They win the Fiesta Bowl. They win the Cotton Bowl. There's just no situation on earth where I'm going to criticize Miami today more than I'm going to praise the season they had.
Indiana hadn't won a bowl game since the Copper Bowl in 1991. Hadn't won a bowl game of any kind. Zaslow, you were there. And to Lucy's point, Beck only has 6 losses, but the reason he has this reputation and the reason Roy said that and the reason Lucy feared it is because 4 of those losses, he's got a chance to win it in the end of the game and throws an interception. That's what happens. And so the latest one, obviously, the most crushing.
That last night was one of the best sporting experiences I've ever had in my life. I have nothing but praise for that Hurricanes football team. I think the Canes fan should be so proud. Like, short of winning the whole thing, this was an incredible, incredible season. It could not have gone any better. I couldn't have imagined a scenario where the Canes did not play their best game, did not play a perfect game, and would have a chance to win last night. They didn't play close to a great game, and they were right there in the end. I had such a great time. The Canes fans should be so proud. Just all heart and guts, that Canes team. And it's such a bitter finish for the Canes fan. I saw kids leaving the stadium last night crying, and I'm like, man, you should be just so proud of this team. It was a great, great night. I was so happy. And of course, the only regret, if you will, is so close. We were all so close to an all all-time moment. And just so close.
Well, we got the all-time moment for Indiana. You see the stats.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard to explain to people who only see the box score when you say, hey, Mendoza had one of the greatest runs of all time, and the stat sheet says 7 rushes for -8 yards because that was the only time he used his legs in any meaningful way. Pat Coogan, the center for Indiana, said, best defensive line I've ever seen, and he says, we knew it going in, but holy shit, because I was surprised Indiana was able to run the ball as well as they did.
Yeah.
But I was also surprised that Miami didn't win a game in which Mendoza looked like that. Didn't look like the Heisman winner.
No,
he made the Heisman play.
He did not only the 12-yard run, which was epic.
Balls called by Cignetti.
On 4th and 5, twice on that drive, 4th and 5.
He had 2 19-yard completions, one on 4th and 5, one on 3rd and long. Those 3 plays, those 2 completions and that run were why he won the Heisman Trophy.
That's what Mendoza did this season, though. If you look at the Iowa game, if you look at the Ohio State game, there were several stretches this year where he did not look that good. And so, but what was really the difference in this game and this entire season for Indiana is he was able better than anybody to take a game where he looked bad, and the second you needed him to do something remarkable, you knew he was going to do it. It was automatic.
It was one of the I'm sorry, Dan. It's one of the all-time great college football plays you've ever seen.
That is correct. He referred to Tebow as Mr. Tebow after the game. That was Tebow-esque. I want to bring in Mike here because...
Mike, did you watch the game last night?
I want to talk about the idea that Beck says after the game his ears are ringing. You saw on 2nd and 15, he gets hit in the chest. It's called a roughing the passer. He hits the back of his head on the turf. And around here, we were asking, who's the backup? We were asking, is this going to come down to the backup? And then what he does I told you this earlier in the Netflix documentary on the Cowboys. Troy Aikman played an entire NFC Championship game that he does not remember because of a concussion. And I want to ask you, how fair is the criticism of Beck when he's telling you after the game, my ears were ringing, and the decision he makes is to throw to Marion, who's got 1 catch for 6 yards and was fairly useless in the entire game, throws into double coverage when there's plenty of time, and that's not a good decision, and underthrows it.
Yeah, he got up wobbly. I think it's safe to question whether or not he was right. That's not how you beat the cover 2. It wasn't a good
But
throw.
it's safe to criticize.
I mean, yeah. Like there were 6 plays in that game that, Indiana, as advertised, they execute, and they made all those plays, and Miami didn't. The block punt, the missed field goal, which is 50 yards,
Well, the block punt, by the way, Tony, you can't field that at the 5, which of course leads to the block punt.
Malachi Tony can do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
We're good with him. Yeah, shut up. Bauman, just forget not whiffing on a block. What the hell was he doing? You're punting out of your end zone. That's one that honestly hurts the most. Those back shoulder throws and the RPOs had us in hell. Those are 1v1 plays. I will say, for all the Mendoza love, he did make the mistake. He did throw the pick 6. That was a tailor-made house call.
I don't remember that. When was that?
It bounced off of Ethan O'Connor's hands. It was at their 40-yard line. That was a house call. And we didn't make that play. And you got to make every play. Miami, I'm fully confident that Miami's best beats Indiana's best, and Miami just had procedurals, penalties, and
missed
they didn't
tackles.
make the plays.
So many missed tackles.
Mendoza is a tough as nails kid too. They had us in hell with the RPOs, but he was being punished for them, and they stopped running it a little bit in that second half because of the punishment that he took. But one thing about Mendoza, I think he's going to be a really good pro. He's accurate. That's a pro throw that he dares you to stop, and you can't stop it. I think he's got pro wide receivers too, but he is tough, dude, because we were hitting him hard.
Very hard. Cignetti said after the game, which put Cignetti in on Mario's hate list forever, he said there were at least 2 roughing penalties that should have been called that weren't, and he pretty much said Miami played a little bit dirty on his quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, clearly early in the game, he catches one under the chin several beats after the ball is out of Mendoza's hands. It's unquestionable that the Miami defense was instructed, put a lick on this guy.
But in the parade of reasons why can be extra crestfallen by last night is that Miami outgained Indiana in total yards despite running 17 fewer plays. Miami's defense held Indiana to 4.5 yards per play, which is not much when you have the Heisman winner and that kind of a ground game. So Miami did not play a bad game. They just had 2 or 3 or 4 crucial things go against them.
The 4th and 5 calls is a combination of coach and quarterback coming together at the very top of the history of this sport to beat Miami because of what Cignetti was calling in those situations. A radio guy for the Washington Huskies tweeted this: a 2-star quarterback scrambling for the national championship winning touchdown on 4th down in his hometown against his hometown team after winning the Heisman for the most losing program of all time, while his mother with multiple sclerosis screams for joy from her seat, is possibly the limit of how good sports can get. And it was amazing to watch those two teams, after a pretty dreadful first half, put on a second half that made half a game for all time. It made half a game for all time because of everything that was happening at the end. And you can't ask for more if you're Mario Cristobal than my highest paid player has the ball in his hands at the end, and we've got a chance to win the game because Indiana has finally done the dumb thing of giving the game away on 2nd and 1 with a false start when they don't do that. Like that team, do you know how ridiculous it is for that team not to lose fumbles? Like they don't make mistakes, and they sure as shit don't make dumb ones. And so a false start on 2nd and 1 when all they needed, we don't get the classic ending. We don't get the Beck interception. We get a bit of anticlimax because the Hoosiers ran for 9 yards on 1st and 10 when the Hurricanes knew they were going to run the ball to get 2nd and 1. Then they get the false start. And so Miami gets the gift of Cignetti in that spot saying, I'm going to kick the field goal on 4th down. I'm not going to go for it, even though Miami fans were terrified that he was going to go for it because he ends the game on a single play with the ball in the Heisman winner's hand.
And the other thing, too, 2 times where you're on 4th and 5, and it is a crucial moment. He calls timeouts that he probably should have saved for later in the game to, figure out, all right, boys, what do we got here? And it ends up being Mendoza to Becker. What's his name, Becker? In that play where you're like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? If you're not watching Indiana, you don't know this guy.
Indiana didn't know him 2 months ago. Indiana did not know who that was 2 months ago.
That's right. Surratt was injured. That required Becker to go in there. Bottom line is, you guys were Beck. We were Becker. That's all. The 4th and 5 run, iconic for all of time, obviously. But really look at it. As Fernando gets to roughly the line of scrimmage, he's lost at sea. He has to cut back across it looks like he's stuck. It looks like it was a bad play call, and he makes the play with his legs with the cutback.
He's done that all year. This was Fernando Mendoza's game. This was why he won the Heisman this year. I honestly think Curt Cignetti did not have his best game. I thought he was kind of sloppy with his timeouts, just the management of it, play calling. All of it was this was not the Curt Cignetti that we've seen throughout the playoff, but it was really Fernando Mendoza who saved his ass.
You say this, but if you look at that stat line, that is one of the worst stat lines he's going to put up because he's not going to make the mistake of throwing interceptions. So if I told Mario Cristobal, look at the box score here. Look at Surratt and look at what it is that Mendoza does in this game. He says that's a win. That he would have taken that before the game if I'd offered it to him.
He threw the interception. We just didn't catch it.
But it's really not people kind of look at this. I think a lot of people have watched Indiana in the postseason and did not watch Indiana in the regular season. This was not a Heisman year where we were particularly blown away with how great Mendoza was. If you saw him against Alabama and Oregon, you would have been. He had several games like that this season where he did not do much, but in the moments where you needed him to be the best player on the field to win the game for you, he did that against Ohio State. He did that against Iowa. He did that against Penn State. That is why he won the Heisman. I didn't come in thinking that this would be Fernando Mendoza is better than everyone else on the field. He just is he's so pure college football. That's what he is, and you saw that yesterday.
Canes fans are mad at Carson Beck today?
I don't know whether – Canes fans are going to be mad because they lost, and the standard and the expectation is win all the time, make me feel good all the time. But I really think that the entirety of this season and that result is above criticism. I don't believe that losing to that team that ends the best college football season there has ever been.
Not best team.
Not the best team, but the best season there's ever been, and not the best team just because it's all 25-year-old guys who aren't draft picks.
I got to tell you, like, in terms of, I've seen a lot of good teams in person. Saban's Alabama, Clemson, like, that's as good a team as I've ever seen in person. Like, they're just really good. Like, I was stunned. I know Miami, especially in the second half, had some success at the line of scrimmage. I was really impressed. Like, at pregame, I was looking at them like, God damn, we're much bigger than these guys. Like, how is this gonna play out? And everything that I've seen and heard about Indiana came true. Like, they just execute. And the flabbergasting thing was that Mendoza threw that pick six, we dropped it, and that they had the false start on that second one, which I was like, what? How? At that point, you start thinking, like, maybe we can do this, because it was like a spaceship landed in the middle of the field.
You were 40 yards from doing it. You had 50 seconds, plenty of time to score the touchdown, and you got the result that you wanted where Indiana was gassed at the end. The last two drives, Miami being able to score quickly and up-tempo offense with wide-open receivers when Mike, I don't think there was a more surprising thing to me in an evening of surprises than the first three quarters. Every damn pass Beck threw was being touched by an Indiana defensive back.
Yeah, how were receivers never open?
He was throwing into tight windows accurately, and everybody was always covered in a way that I haven't seen all season.
Dude, 5'9" D'Angelo Pons is a friggin' sick player. I said, can we stop throwing at this guy? Like, he was unreal. Refs let them play. I was good with that. Like, I like that type of game. They get there and they force the refs to think about it a little bit, but that's what they do. They execute. Their timing is exceptional. They're a really good, fantastic football team.
I think both things are true. I think you can say Miami might well have won that game if not for a turnover with 44 seconds left, but you can't take an iota away from a 16-0 team that had a plus 21 turnover ratio, the best in the nation. I mean, Indiana richly deserves the championship it's celebrating.
But when Mike says it was 6 plays, right? You got 2 plays on 4th and 5. You've got a blocked punt, and you've got a field goal hitting an upright. Those are the 4 for me that I'm like, okay, those are game swingers. I don't know if you want to put an extra
third down
point.
to Becker was crazy.
God, that was insane.
Like, everybody in the building knew what was coming, including our corner, and it's just like, can you stop this?
Yeah.
Becker's unbelievable. I don't know. That guy just, like, became Jordy Nelson or Alec Pierce or any other wide receiver you can think of.
Did anyone